I can't really think of a more daunting word than sin, especially when you put it in the context that the Bible clearly puts it in, that sin leads to death. Now, the most daunting part of that is the fact that I'm not arguing that sin leads to death. I'm just confessing that I am a sinner. And I'm a sinner who sins less than I used to, or maybe less publicly, or maybe less of the really ugly sins, but I'm still a sinner. And the Bible clearly underscores the truth of that fact, that all of us are sinners and fallen short of the glory of God, it says in Romans. So reading today in John 16, Jesus says this. In John 16:8, he says, when he comes, he's referring to himself, when I come, I will convict the world of its sin and God's righteousness and of coming judgment. Okay? But here's verse 9. It puts sin in such an easy to define place. The world's sin is that it refuses to believe in me. So much of my life, I've tried to not do some things and to do other things. A checklist, if you will. Check these boxes, stay far away from those, or anything even closer, the very appearance of those very sins. The world's sin, Jesus said, is that it refuses to believe in me. Now, let's think through the grid of your favorite sins, or the ones that you keep trying to stop doing. For far too much of my life, I tried to quit sinning as opposed to trusting Jesus to meet the needs that I thought that sin would meet. The world's sin is that it refuses to believe in me. Could it be, and I think so, that the sin that so easily entangles you, or the sin that wants to not quite let you go, the sin that lets you believe every once in a while you have control of it, but then it reminds you that it controls you. The world's sin is that it refuses to believe in me. Or let me take it one step further. Could it be that our areas of sin are missed invitations to believe and trust? Could it be that fear, despair, addiction, any other thing that sucks life out of us, hopelessness, could it be that these are all invitations to trust in Him? Absolutely. And could it be that the enemy jumps on top of those with shame and guilt and all those things? Think of the story of the prodigal son. Think of him. He could not have been more disrespectful, more sinful, more self-centered, more rancid. What was his dad doing? Not only did his dad run to him, his dad was expecting him to come home. His dad was expecting him to realize that his sin would come to an end and he would come to his senses. And what was daddy doing? Waiting for him, running to him, putting a ring on his finger, a robe on him. In fact, the biggest, darkest issue in that story wasn't the prodigal coming home, but his brother, who was judgmental and had expectations of things he thought he had come into himself. What is sin? Sin is that it refuses to believe in Him. And I could tell you that in that story of the prodigal son, the older brother refused to believe in what mattered to the father, refused to value what mattered to the father. What matters to the father? Relationship, trust, belief. God wants our trust, our belief, our dependence upon Him and no one and nothing else. What is sin? Anything less than that.